All right, everybody, welcome to the unscripted one-on-one podcast slash video. And if you're watching this on the blog or YouTube, I am so excited about today. This is the second time I've done one, but I'm really excited to introduce you all to a brother of mine, just a guy that we'll get into it in a minute, but somebody that whenever somebody asks me, I always say he's a guy I met on the internet. Which always comes off a little awkward, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, let me explain. And so we'll get into that in a second. But he's one of my band of brothers, a guy that we've walked through some fires together. And honestly, if you're seeing this is and correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, this is the third or fourth time we've maybe seen each other face to face.
Yeah, if you count
met in person twice,
yeah,
right?
I think this is number 3. It was like Greensboro, the original one for my 40th birthday, and then
Right.
here we are.
We are. So welcome to the club if you're seeing this. So let me introduce you to a guy that I just care so much about. I'm so thankful he's jumping on with me today, and we're just going to rip it up for a half hour and see what happens. But I can't wait to introduce the world to Ryan Grammatico. So Ryan, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, where you're from, and where you are now.
Thank you. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Grammatico, as Aaron just said. I'm originally from a beautiful metropolis known as Flint, Michigan, and now I've moved my way down to Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm down here. I'm a loving father. I have 2 older daughters, meaning 16 and 18, but there's a little 7-month-old boy creeping around here. So it's an exciting world I'm living in, an amazing wife, and just living in a sometimes upside down place, but trying to keep it all right side up, So that's just the main intro of who I am, a fervent believer and a lover of my family and our community. So hello.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And we'll jump into what you do for a living in a minute, because I think that's going to be a bulk of really what I want people to hear. I want them to hear your heart and what you do really for every day when you go to work, which is awesome. But so let's jump back into that. We met, and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we met on the internet, truthfully. I believe I was searching I wanted to bring the movie, what was it called?
Lord, save us from your followers.
That's right. Save us from your followers, right?
Yeah.
And in order to do it, you had to get like 50 people, I think, into a theater. You had to get 50 people committed. Yep. And then from there, once you got enough people, then they would agree to bring the theater. So I had to call a number, and I believe that number led to you. Is that correct?
That's 100% it.
All right. And then from there, man, our conversation just took off. It was one of those divine moments, honestly, I believe, because since then you've become a brother to me. Yeah. And man, we have been through it. And how long ago was that? 2008?
Shoot. It had to be 2008. Yeah, it had to be 08. So
right.
It was. That's crazy.
It is crazy. So 12 years ago, man, we've been through it in 12 years. And again, I'm just blessed to call you friend and brother. And so anyway, what you do for a living, can you tell everybody, explain to them what you do for a living?
Yeah, that's not a problem at all. So I work for an organization here in Charlotte called Right Moves for Youth. And we are the premier provider of social and emotional groups for students in middle and high school inside of the school system. So we partner with kids, we do college and career readiness, life skills development. We help them walk through the path of everyday life. But our main thing we do is honestly, we help build a better life through extraordinary relationships. And if we figured out that we do good relationships in groups, then students are more likely to develop into successful adults. And that's where the main genesis of the work is. And so it's really empowering and powerful, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. The irony is, for the past 10 years, I've been in the program, meaning direct service to students. And just as of July 1st, I actually transitioned I'm our new community engagement director. So I'm working with partners after knowing what we do and kind of connecting in and keeping them engaged, but also doing all the fun stuff like social media and websites and all those crazy things that are out there. But group work, helping kids stay whole and in spite of situations and circumstances.
So with where we are today, I know that's near and dear to your heart, because I would say a majority of your students that you help that I've seen, and again, I'm from a 30,000 foot perspective from where I'm coming from in Ohio and not Charlotte, but and we were close. We were so close.
You're so
to
close.
Charlotte, right? So close. Anyway, but from where I sit and from what I see on your social media and things like that, I believe that you are dealing with a really a group that's very diverse, but also a group that's very much trying to be heard right now. Is that fair? And can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you in that statement. Our work is primarily in Title I schools, which means that it's usually high poverty. Challenges abound in most of our work, but not all of our work is in Title I and with huge detrimental challenges, but most of our students are minorities. In fact, I think 4% of our students are Caucasian. The rest are either primarily African-American, about 75% of our population of our students. We serve roughly 1,500 students every year. So it's a large population of students. Charlotte has a reputation, a history of being a banking capital in this country, and you know, good old South and all the good stuff like Bank of America and you know, and all the other banking systems, Wells Fargo and things like that, capital. But the truth is, we're very segregated. There are many statistics and stories. In fact, I would challenge everyone to go and read the Opportunity Report that demonstrated that Charlotte in Mecklenburg County, it's the 50th worst city to live in to try to escape poverty if you're born into it. So young people are almost impossible to get out of it unless they have a lot of supports around them. And unfortunately, as big as our city is, it's tough to really surround them all the time.
And that's really what your role is in the day-to-day, is to be one of those supports, right?
100%. We partner again with the school district. We were originally founded by the police department, and in ironic fashion in today's world, right, with what we're dealing with,
Right.
and what our students are who are minorities having to wrestle against their perceptions of the police and law enforcement.
Right.
We get to, you want to talk about a luxury and a curse at the same time. We get the opportunity to help kind of blend them together and help them understand that not everybody does bad things, and that we're just trying to help them navigate through it. In fact, some of our best partners are some of the officers that work inside of schools or in certain parts of our city and have come alongside these young people, and they're like, wow, you're just like me, or you're just like my dad, or you're just like my cousin. Or it's just, you're a human being. And the same thing back for the police officer. Wow, you're just a teenager like I used to be. Right. And let's kind of bridge that gap together. And that's been our major work, especially over the past, I'd say 4 years, has been really working to connect students and increase their social capital in their own city as much as we can.
And you've done some cool stuff. Like you guys went to the All-Star game when it was in Charlotte. I've seen, and that's probably just the fun side of the job, I would think. Or is that, you know, I would guess every day is not the All-Star game, but you've seen some really cool stuff, and you've done some really cool stuff, and they've seen from what I've seen from your social media and things, they've had an opportunity to do some things that some of us would never have a chance to do, which is incredible.
Yeah, you nailed it. I think one of the main things that we're always trying to do is expose young people to opportunities. So whether that was being chosen by LeBron James to be his charity of choice at the All-Star game and win $350,000, and it might be the only time I've ever rooted for LeBron. So just to put that out there, right. MJ for life. But like, a student that's never seen a Broadway musical, so taking them to see, you know, Sound of Music or Hamilton, or who's never been to a Hornets basketball game, who's never been to a Panthers football game, or who's never been on a college campus. We get the opportunity to expose them. Or one of my favorites was last year, we went to the Microsoft headquarters here and had students take a business tour of what it's like to work inside Microsoft. So they saw a casual environment. They saw a really cool campus. They had a really great opportunity to kind of see a basketball court on the campus that people were using at lunch. So like, oh, cool. Wait, you guys play ball? Like, yeah, we do that it's a way to break and things like that. So
did you drop a triple double on them?
Yeah, hey, today was a good day. You know what I'm saying? That's how we always keep it, right?
Absolutely.
So that's the big thing, is helping students see that there is more, and not just the current situation you're in. You've got to be forward thinking. You've got to honor where you are, but you have to be willing to put in the work to get to where you really want to be.
Right. And so, and I think you're putting a point on the horizon for them too, to where without that, where are they going to go? What are they going to do? You're giving them the opportunity to say there's more, but you got to work for it and achieve it. That's awesome.
Well, Aaron, you nail one part in particular. You know, our mission is to help provide resources and guidance to help students graduate high school. But the main thing is with a plan for their future success. So whether you're going to college, whether you're going to get a job, whether you're going into the military, or whether that all falls apart, you've got to be strong enough and resilient enough to keep the plan going. So at the end of the day, we want productive young people to become productive adults. And so if they decide they go in the military and after 3 years it's not for them, well, good. How do we teach you how to make a plan? How did we work on when you fail, if you got fired from a job, not to give up, not to go down a negative route, but to take what you've learned and still stay connected to your source of support and keep moving forward. Right. And, you know, using an old John Maxwell a mode of failing forward. So like, it's okay to fall down, but it's going to be more important about how you get up.
Yep. And again, I promise our audience, this is unscripted. And so we have not rehearsed this. I didn't send you anything. We had a small discussion about why when I invited you on, but and I say that because I want people to hear the passion, because I believe in your heart that's what that probably takes for that job every single day. And I think that transitions maybe to my next question for you, and that is seeing what you're seeing right now. How heartbreaking is it for you? And for anyone listening, what are ways that we can help? And I did the one last week with our guys from the Destroyers, and to me it was just great to hear their passion and all that as well. But that was my question to them: is how do we move forward as a society? So 2 questions for you. One is how heartbreaking is this for you right now, and because it's close to you. And 2, what is your recommendation from somebody that's living this every day? What's your recommendation on how we can start to advance forward and not just make noise anymore? How do we advance forward?
Yeah, let me start from that personal side you mentioned about what's it like for me. I'm an empath. I'm an ENFJ. I feel everything. I've not, what I thought was a curse in my life of feeling everything, I've now realized I'm a borderline superhero, because I can feel with everybody and I know what it's like. Even though I may not be down those paths. But in terms of today's current, culture and what we're dealing with, I grew up in a high poverty area. I come from abject poverty. We were in the welfare system. So some of those socioeconomic things I connect with, neighborhoods I connect with. So I recognize a lot of the young people that we work with in our community as people that were like my friends growing up. So I see them and I hear them. Right. And that hearing is the part where I would transition when people say, what can I do? I have to pause and almost think, some days it feels like I can't do anything, if I'm just being honest. I'm unscripted. I don't know really what impact I can actually make, but I heard a wise thing, I'd say just a few weeks ago, seek less to be understood and seek more to understand. Right. And that's going to require one major thing, and that's asking better questions. Instead of just going, why did you do that? Or why do you feel like that? There are many deeper ways than just it's just some closed-ended questions. It's just getting, you got to build a relationship. You've got to get close. You got to change your proximity, and you have to be willing to get uncomfortable. If you're coming from the white lens, which I do, I come from I'm Caucasian. As much as you can tell, I am as white as they come. Although the students who call me Mr. G kind of argue that some days. But like the idea that I've got to be willing to be uncomfortable, I've got to go sit on a porch sometimes and help lean into some of the pain and say, I'm sorry. And I'm with you in this. And the key always, no matter what, is when you start the journey, you have got to stay consistent and you got to keep showing up. Yeah. You can't do this for a week. You can't just put a black box on your social media and think you just changed the world. Right. Because no one's listening to that. Right. Because you know what? You're going to jump on the next cool thing that's happening. Right. So if you're not literally staying in conversations, if you have neighbors who look different than you and you're not having conversations just about how are you, if you've got black friends and you haven't asked, hey man, how you doing? Just in an honest conversation, I would say that you need to start there, is just asking good questions, being genuine and authentic. And then the key is just going to be love, right? I don't mean to be cliche. No. But like, what do you need in a situation? Right. And if you were oppressed, if you were held down, or if you even had the lens that you thought you were, what would you want from someone? Right. And I just try to, my practical steps typically are like, be what I want somebody to do for me. It's not golden rule, walk those steps. All those kinds of things are really vital. And I'm seeing the outcome of that, where students are still calling me saying, hey, Mr. G, I'm dealing with this right now. I need you. Or just even in positive stuff. I'm just turned 26 and I'm having a baby and I'm married, and like all these powerful things are happening in the world. It's so cool to be a part of, but they rely on me because I've always been there.
Yeah.
And I don't turn my back, and I don't say, well, you're wrong. I don't invalidate feelings. I don't care what I think, because their feelings are real.
That's it. And I think there's two things that, as you were talking, there's two things that I take out of that. Is one is your background, where you grew up. I mean, I grew up in Cleveland, as you know, and so I think in some ways, we grew up in areas that I never knew any different. That you know what I mean? Everybody was just human. I didn't see anything else, and so I think that helped. And then for you too, I know I'm such a fan of your beliefs and your faith. I think those two things, our faith teaches us that's where we start. It doesn't matter what church you go to. It doesn't, any of those things. I think that the core belief, it starts with love does, believing in others. And like you said, it's cliche, but it's our faith. And if we can't start there, I'm not sure what we can do. And growing up as we did, and then stepping into our faith, I think those two elements were at least on the path, and that maybe it's not for everybody, but I think it for me, I know, and I know definitely for you, as I've watched and witnessed your life, I've seen that for sure.
Well, Aaron, I find that some of the biggest, like, monumental moves of love have happened from the church. It's been powerful.
Yeah.
But some of the most damage and some of the most hurt that we've ever seen ever has been from that same church.
Right.
Our country was founded allegedly on religious beliefs and all these different things, but honestly, it was on capitalism and money and on the backs of people and using those things. And it was always about classism. Right. And so as we segmented people and kept them separated, the church didn't abstain from that. They preached messages where they said, if your skin was dark, you were in sin and God didn't love you. And slave masters used scripture against people and all these different things. And it's like, well, man, we really screwed it up. But I am a firm believer that God stays faithful to those who are faithful. Mm-hmm. And as long as we stay that course, and right now, in fact, I'm really in my life cycle right now, there is a verse that's been standing out in Exodus 14:14. God will fight for you, but you have to remain still. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to let him lead that battle, and you have to ask, what do you want my steps to be? Not, I don't need to run into the middle of the fight and then say, now what do you want me to do? Because I already kind of ruined the space, right? I got to go, God, I'm trusting you to fight. And fighting means that you're going to use me, my family, my community, my influence, my impact to really help bring some change to what there is in this world. I mean, for such a time as this,
Yeah. Absolutely, man. So, and I don't want to transition too fast away from that, because I think this is powerful. And I don't know who's going to hear it, who's going to see it. Maybe it's just me and you talking, which is awesome. If that's it, then I'll take that for sure any day of the week. But how can they help? How can anybody that hears this help? Is Right Moves? Do they accept donate? I mean, again, who knows where this thing could land? And if somebody that wants to be generous. And again, this is unscripted. You didn't even know I'm going to ask this, and maybe you say there's no way you can help. I don't know, but I want to make sure that we have that platform for you. So is there a way somebody can help Right Moves or support it?
That's good. Thank you. I will tell you, like, one of the first things, if you're in the Charlotte area, like in Charlotte, Mecklenburg proper, we could definitely use volunteers. This is a weird time with pandemics and school being virtual and all the stuff we're dealing with in North Carolina. We need people we have staff that facilitate groups still virtually. We just need people to be support in the space, and could use guest speakers to tell their stories, and like businesses to kind of share what's going on, so we can keep it virtual until we can get through all of this. That would be like really a main thing. But truly, we know that we serve 1,500 students, but we're in a school district of 150,000. There are so many more kids that need it. And the only way it's going to happen is with money. And that's, I'm not trying to grovel or beg or anything like that, but I'm telling you, you go to rightmovesforyouth.org and there is a donate button. And I don't care if it's $5 or come on, 1 million. I'm not scared of it. But the fact is, all that money is put to the use that will help young people. And we've seen it. We've seen graduation rates increase. We've seen connection to things. We've seen more kids go to college. We've seen more kids get in less trouble. Like, that's important, because those things will impact their future.
Absolutely.
So give your time, give that treasure, like honestly, like it will matter to that. And I'm not just saying like, oh yeah, we use it all for overhead. No, I mean like it goes direct service and we give it to those young people, because one of the things that also, if you're not like, oh, I don't have money, but I can give you tickets to football, even though we don't have football right now, but like things that could be donated, gift cards, like we incentivize students. Those kids go to sporting events and they go to different things because they earned it. They came to school, they didn't get in trouble, they stayed connected, they did what they were supposed to do. And we're dangling carrots.
Right.
So if you've got carrots in all those different fashions of gold, diamond, fruit, vegetables, I don't care. Like send it on down. And so whether it's gift cards or cash or like donations, things like that, honestly, it could be used, and it's in such a powerful way to see real work happen.
And tell me, and again, I promise you all this is unscripted.
Yes.
We did not rehearse this. I had no plans to do this, but I do want to give everybody that platform. So tell them one more time, what's that web address? Yeah,
the web address is www.rightmovesforyouth.org.
Okay.
And you can also, if you're on any social media platform, if you look up Ryan Grammatico, that's a fun spelling. Hopefully Aaron put it in the comments down below like they do.
It'll be there. It'll be there.
But find me, DM me. I would love to answer questions. I know sometimes people are like, I don't really know much about it. Holler. Like I'm an open book. I will have the same conversation with everybody we can, because I just believe in telling the story and letting them see the impact that's really, truly happening, and not just some fluff piece of a beautiful website, but like real impact happening in this world, making change.
Yeah. Well, and I can promise you, if you call Ryan, you may end up on a Zoom call 12 years later, like we are right now. But one other thing I'd recommend too, having thought and been, this close to moving to Charlotte, is Waiting for Superman. Wasn't that primarily a documentary about Charlotte schools, or at least just the Charlotte Mecklenburg schools? Or
there was a portion. I mean, I remember Harlem was highlighted.
Okay.
But I feel like there was a portion in Charlotte. Forgive me.
If not, it was very relevant.
Oh yeah, without
to
doubt.
Charlotte.
Yeah. So
the charter schools and all that kind of thing, and honestly, that was a factor in our decision because we've got a great school system where we are, and everybody was happy where we were, and that was a challenge for us in Charlotte, was the school system.
Well, I mentioned the fact that we've got 150,000 students, a big city, one school district. Like that's wild. Like if you have a really let's call it a wealthy school with resource and all they have with high property taxes that can pour into the school, and then you have one right in the cut, like it's going to be two different worlds, but it's supposed to be the same education from the same district. How's a district? It's just tough. It is a challenge, and we're segregated. So people in their Southern ways, now I'm not knocking my Southern brothers and sisters, but there's still history that's not too far away. I mean, we're literally, we're just 50 years removed from people being able to vote and all sorts of stuff that was never existed before. So we have work to do in this city, and we see a lot more charters popping up, but the school district is really doing some major work. They're bringing in partners. They're really trying to make impacts, but it's going to take time. Yeah. But it'll move quicker if we have people rallying around that cry of saying, hey, we can make a better world for everybody. Right.
One other thing while we're on that topic of compassion, because that's your day job is not your only compassion. I know that you and I have donated, I think, to is it Equitas? Am I saying it right?
Equitas. Yeah.
Equitas. So can you talk a little bit about Equitas real quick, since I know that you're friends?
And it is Equitas. I'm sorry, you're right. I was just going Equitas. But so Equitas is an amazing organization that provides education in Malawi, Africa. And so with the work that they did a few years ago, I had the opportunity to fly to Malawi, meet some partners, dig part of a well, build a well pump. Like, it was awesome meeting with kids like from another part of the world, and not just one of those like Sally Struthers, like look at this hungry kid thing. Like, but I was exposed. Like, I'll tell you, one of the greatest exposures I ever had was when I looked at a kid and I'm like, hey man, what's it like being this, like you're in poverty like this? Are you okay? And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm not poor. We told him he was poor. He didn't think he was, because he's living in his life in his world, but we were in comparison. Yeah. So, but Equitas does amazing work with my good buddy, Steve Cook, does a great opportunity to build, like I said, schools, education in these rural villages where they don't have education. But the only escape, honestly, from poverty is in those areas education. And that's no different than the United States. We just talked about it that way, right? Like we talked about segregated populations, the same in Africa is the same thing happening in the United States. So education is a leveler. And if we can help those young people move forward in ways, it may impact their families, which means that impacts their lineage. They get to break cycles. They break all the chains that have been on their family for generations. And it's all because we just decide from our own little bits we're gonna give. And I'm not gonna give one of those for the cost of a cup of coffee. You can make. I'm not buying that, because I know people have a lot more than just a cup of coffee, right? They now. I sit there and look at shoes sometimes. Like, now I'll drop $150 on a pair of shoes, and I'm sitting there going, man, but $150 could really do. And all of a sudden I start looking. I'm like, let me write this. Let's get it out there, because I've got shoes. I've got what I need. And until everybody else has what they need, maybe I need to put a pause on me for a second.
Yeah.
And start really giving back and making an impact.
Well, you are the king of swag, even, and you make an impact. And as you can all tell, he's just a tad passionate about the things that matter most in this world, which is why I love this guy and have him on right now. So, and real quick, what's the way people can find out about Equitas?
Same story, equitas.cc.
Okay.
Amazing, again, connection to them. They're just another one of those things I'm connected to that I just believe passionately about, because of the connection to relationships. And relationships are the one thing, again, that will help move people forward in every level. So I think it's amazing work that they do over there, and buy into it, But Aaron, the main thing, and I'm gonna plug all those all day long, but man, I would tell everybody, like, what you're passionate about, get in that thing.
That's
like,
right.
Because you'll burn out.
Yeah.
You'll like go, let me move to the next one. Like, find what really moves you and go there and see what it is. And so if you're about education, come on. If you're about helping young kids, come on. If you're about the elderly, get there. Yeah. Like, there are so many ways that we can help this world be better. Sometimes it's as easy as just taking a meal to a neighbor.
Right.
And sometimes it is about sending a financial gift to a place like Right Moves for You.
Right. Nice plug. Well, and I actually just reposted that this week. It was knowing where to place the X, and not a plug my own blog, but if you look for it, you'll see it. And the point was, and I don't even remember the scripture now, because I'm not that guy, but there was a scripture there, and it talked about if you can teach, then teach. And if you have the gift of prophecy, then prophecy. Right. If you have the gift of leadership, then lead. And, it's scriptural that we do that. If we have a gift, and I always tell people, man, and they're like, I don't know what my gift is. It's like, well, what if people look at you and say, man, how'd you do that? And you're like, that was easy. Yeah. That's your gift. Then that's what God made you for, is if you think it's easy and somebody else says, man, that's impossible for me to do, or I have to work really, really hard to get there. And you can do that, but if there's something in your life that somebody has said, man, how did you do that? You're like, that was so easy. Yeah. Start there, because as you said, you'll burn out otherwise. So, all right. And I hate to squeeze this part of it in the last few minutes that we have, man. Time's going too fast. I know. I gotta call you. But because I wish we could give this segment as much time. Girl dad. You're a girl dad until the latest edition. So you have just the opposite. Your son is the third, mine's the first, but at the end of the day, man, we're both girl dads. And the death of Kobe, man, if there's nothing else we took away from that, man, I wasn't always a Kobe fan, like you said. MJ, LeBron's my guys from Cleveland. MJ's still the GOAT, but Kobe wasn't always a fan. Right. Until afterlife. And man, may that be said of all of us, but his girl dad, that video from the ESPN, man, tore me up. And I know you're a girl dad. You just posted that picture, 3 weeks ago, sent me that text that said, man, Kenny Chesney, there goes my life, tore me up right where I was standing. Man, talk about being a girl dad for a minute, because I know you're proud. Yeah, you talk about, look, I'm like lighting up now, just even thinking about that. Baby. Yeah, so Addison, being a freshman in college, just drove off, and broke my heart to see her drive away, but I was so proud because of what we've poured into her and the young lady she is. And then her younger sister, who's now 16, Bailey, is a champ. Like, Bailey is so resilient, such a loving, caring. In fact, she's been working through, with one of her classes, personality tests and profiles, and finding out who she is. And she's a helper. Yeah. And I could have already told you didn't have to take a test to tell me that. She's always been helping. So looking at
like the product and the outcome of these young girls. And I've had the impact on that. Because when I was young, right, give me 5 boys. I need a point guard, a shooting guard, power forward, small, and a center. I was thinking that's all I was going to do.
Right.
But they have shifted the way that I viewed humanity because they come at it in a different way. So it was good for me to take my male masculine lens and shift and have to go, man, how are they looking at it though?
Yeah.
And I learned a lot more. Man, they didn't care what I said. They cared more what I did. And so if I didn't show up to the little play, or if I didn't go to the game, whether it was soccer or basketball, whatever it was, if I didn't, like, they would know like that wasn't real. So I made sure I was at everything I could be at. And it was such a powerful thing. And they'll still curl up. My daughter, Addison, hates hugs. But she'll hug the hockey out of me.
Yeah.
Like, she knows that I just like, I adore her. And Bailey's all about some hugs and will give me everything. And it's just, we are such a close knit group. Yeah. And you're right. The death of Kobe was heartbreaking because, and I don't think it was just the death of Kobe, right? It was with
his daughter.
And we I felt like I sat in the helicopter seat.
Right.
As it's going down, picturing me having to deal with going down and holding my daughter.
Yep.
And so it sat real. And I'm like, you know, I'm not going to live another month. I'm not giving flowers away at funerals anymore. I'm giving them before people are gone. So I want to give kudos out there. Like, Aaron, you've been a shining example for me. We have chopped it up and iron sharpened iron over the years, man. But we have tried to lean into this parenting thing and champion for each other and tried to push it as far as we can. And man, you've been a trusted person for me. And I've appreciated that because they're an impact, honestly, because of 12 years of friendship with you too. Like, some of their outcome is because of the things we've sharpened with each other and the fires we had to go through. And that's what made us stronger. So thanks to you, man. Like, and Heather, like, you guys are freaking goats. Please. Like,
well, I would say, and so I'll rebound that back. I mean, again, we've met in IRL twice. And both times, you know, especially the night that your 40th, you know, I got to stay at your house. And man, those girls treated me like I was literally like I was your brother. I've never met them before in my life, but man, they treated me with we were cutting up, they were cutting up. I mean, just, I felt like a part of the family with them. And one of them even let me sleep in her room.
Good, that's right.
Went in it. Clarify, unscripted. But no, I mean, she, you know, gave up her room for me, and man, they've always treated me like family, and I've appreciated that. And again, as you said, we've learned from each other. There's no manual, there's no script, but they're beautiful girls. You have a beautiful family. I can't wait to meet the youngest guy.
Yes, sir.
So I need to get on a plane or get in the car and get down to Charlotte.
And maybe we have to come up.
Excuse to go to North Carolina. So.
Well, maybe we have to come up that way because, you know.
Oh, that ain't gonna play well here, man. You had everybody up until that moment.
To all the Ohio people, hey, be gracious, extend love, know that we can.
It goes back to what we said earlier. You know, we gotta love. So, all right, we got like one or 2 minutes. Best book you're reading right now?
Man, you are getting after me. Man, it's gonna make me mad because I feel like I want to dig into it right now. But the 4 Agreements. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it's about the 4 agreements. What do you agree with? These 4 major factors. It's a continual read for me all the time. Like, I read it probably once a year. I'm in the middle of it right now, and it just talks about what you agree with about yourself. And so I would challenge every person in this world. I don't care how old or young you are. Get the 4 agreements. It will change every single aspect of how you view your life, how you view scripture, how you view God, how you view friends, family. It will, you're like, oh, I need to bring this to the table. And that's what it's going to be, because it's, at the end of the day, if you don't agree with the good parts of yourself, you're just a wounded warrior running around out there, and you don't know, like, you're not as strong as you need to be. So it's like, let's agree with the best parts of ourselves, and it will turn it upside down. I think it's definitely the book to get hold of.
Awesome. Who's the author?
Don Pablo. It's like a 3-name. Forgive me.
My bad. Unscripted.
Sorry, guys. Unscripted. It's gonna drive me crazy. I'm sorry. I called him Don Pablo. It's something along that line. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's such a gripping read, because the more I kept reading it, the story itself was engulfing my own life every time. I'm like, oh yeah, I needed to hear that, especially when I work in human services. So I need things to keep me grounded and to help me be, my best self, so I can be my best self for other people too.
Well, man, you've always been your best self to me. Again, I can't thank you enough for being on today. We got to do this more often, even if
Yeah.
it's not recorded.
Facts.
That it's just you and I cutting and ripping up. I need to get down to Charlotte. You need to get up here. And thank you so much, man. Last again,
Yep.
links one more time, just in case anybody missed it. And I will put it in the post too. But links one more time.
Yeah.
For everything we talked about.
Not a problem. You can go for our organization with www.rightmovesforyouth.org, not Right Moves for You, youth, youth.org. You can check out equitas.cc, and you can also find me on all those fun social media platforms at Ryan Grammatico.
He is a great friend. He's a great follow, and hopefully, some people ring you up or hit you up after this, just to, if nothing else, to be a friend. It'll be the richest thing you've ever done. So
Yes,
I love you, brother. Thanks for
Love you
coming
too.
on, and we'll see you real soon. All right, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, dude.
All right, buddy.